Hi, what is up? It is picking winners. JBC is somewhere on the sideline at Soldier Field. I don't know what happened to him, but hopefully he's okay. He's Statsational. I'm Holden. Hope everybody's having a wonderful day. We're going to talk about 10 NFL games, and we're going to talk about betting them. That's what we're going to do. Maybe Stats has a college pick at the end. Talk to me here, Stats. What's going on this week?
Not much, man. Typical. Just grinding away, handicapping. Got NBA in full force. That's taking up a lot more of my time, man. These NBA props, but so far so good. We've been crushing those things.
So when do you really like how much of your time's into NBA and how much of your time's NFL now? Because NBA is just a daily grind.
Yeah, I mean it's most of my mornings. As far as DFS goes, yeah, we get busy with that in the afternoons, 4 or 5 o'clock. But in the mornings, I'm doing all my props, which I post for everybody in the bets chat. So the props have been my main focus sports betting wise, just because they've been so profitable for me over the last couple of years. I know I've only been with RPS for the last few months, but I think about 170 units on the props, on the NBA props themselves since I've been tracking. I've got the Sharp app as well, which we've offered the Proptimizer tool to RPS members over for the bet members, or any member if they want to add on the Proptimizer tool. And I use that tool in conjunction with some of my other stuff to figure out the best props. So it's been, the NBA props have been great over about a little over a year now, 170 units. So it's been a lot of fun doing that.
I'm just putting in our show chat here that we're on the air and we're getting ready. We're going to talk about these 10 games. Anything else going on in your life right now? How's the lady situation? How's the food situation? How's mom doing?
Yeah, no, mom's good. I didn't talk to her last night, but I assume I don't think she had anyone in that game, but that was a classic under. The primetime games have been crazy with the unders. Someone sent me a stat yesterday. I mean, I don't know. The primetime games were just, the unders has been hitting at a ridiculous rate. And, my mom is a big under on Thursday night. Hates playing any of her season-long players on Thursday night. Doesn't think any of them perform. I don't know if Thursday night had anything to do with it, or the fact that we watched two of the worst teams in the league last night. I think that had a little bit more to do with the mess. But man, it's like DSTs. It's you can't get away from them on the primetime games. It's been amazing. But yeah,
a Thursday night too. At this point, like, why are you taking overs on a Thursday night? And not to knock anyone that has been taking overs on Thursday night, but we're talking about almost 80% clip this year. Two bad teams. The Bears defense isn't as bad as you think. We had the kick return for a touchdown last night for Carolina, so their defense worked out, but. Again, I've told you this a million times. I'm an unders better, and this has been the best year I've ever had in my life. In all seriousness, through what are we here? I'm also up 22 units in the NFL. Like, think about that for a second. That's not an easy thing to do, but most of this has come from betting unders this year and tailing the Proptimizer and stuff like that, and you and JBC. But under, and we see it again with these totals. We got a 47 total. We got a 45 total. A 48.5 and a 44.5, and that's it. I mean, besides for that, we got totals in the 30s again. And you and I have talked about this. I saw something on ESPN, which I rarely watch, but they sent out a good clip on the X machine over there. And it was like, why is scoring down so much? Now, you and I have had the conversation. Once the defenses started going to the too high safety shell against Mahomes and Tyreek, that was one way. The other thing is they're lining up with 7 on the defensive line. They're dropping 3 and 4. They're stunning. They're doing so much to confuse quarterbacks now. And then I think the other thing to look at, there's a lot of bad quarterbacks. I mean, a lot, like more than normal stats. There's a lot of bad quarterback play. Even guys that were decent last year, like Geno Smith, have taken a step back. We had Danny DeVito last week. Clayton Tune. We don't have to deal with Clayton Tune this week. It's horrible stats. And hopefully we don't see much of this outside of the season. Unders. It's the play.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you talked about it early on. That's one of the keys to being able to win in the NFL is getting in on a trend early. And it's easier if you kind of have a reason behind that trend, why you think that might be the thing. But you were talking about it like week 2. You were telling me, I like the unders. You kind of stuck with it. I really thought it would rebound. We'd start to see some of these games go to the over, but the under, just look at, like you said, we look at the lines that we're looking at this week and the odds. This is actually one of the weeks. This is, after last week, which was atrocious. This week we've actually got a few games that are popping off as potentially being high scoring. Of course, that Houston game last week was just a absolute dream for anyone who stacked that game. I know Big D crushed that one. So you had to have game stacks there. But yeah, on the whole, I think it's a combination of bad quarterback play. I think the defenses, this league, we've talked about it in the NFL league, the teams adjust. It's a cat and mouse game, and it's sort of a roller coaster as to where the offenses dominate for a couple of years and then defenses dominate for a couple of years. That's sort of how it goes, because I think typically the offenses make the move and then the defenses adjust. And now that the defenses have adjusted, it's sort of 2 years now with the defenses adjusting. Yeah. We'll see what happens next year. But I think it's tough it's going to be tough for these offenses to rebound when you've got such bad quarterback play. And part of that is just bad quarterbacks. The other part of that is we're seeing more running quarterbacks in the league. With the more running quarterbacks, that means more quarterbacks are being injured. And the more injuries, of course, we're getting backup quarterbacks. So I think that's part of it. But we do get one quarterback, one of the marquee guys, back this week in Kyler Murray. So we'll see what that looks like.
Yeah, we'll see. I think the NFL is going to want this to change too. The NFL doesn't want these low total games. The NFL was humming along when we were seeing 49, 54 totals every single week. Something's going to change. I think it'll change this offseason, whether it is a mandate from the NFL that they're going to change things, whether it is a complete overhaul of offenses with some of the offenses in the offseason. I can't imagine this lasts that much longer because it's not as fun for the fans. Now, as long as the television ratings are there, that's fine, but for the league, but it's got to get better. It's somebody that just lives, dies, breathes NFL. It's not been great. It's been fun winning, but it's not been great watching.
What you'll see is potentially some sort of a rule change or an emphasis on rule. The way they get the scoring up is usually with enforcing certain penalties more often than not. The one I always look at is offensive holding penalties. That's a really crucial one towards points scored in a game. When the offensive holding penalties are up in a season, the scoring tends to be down, and of course the inverse of that is true. And then you'll see more. If they want to increase the scoring, all you got to do is start enforcing more of the illegal contact penalties and the pass interference penalty. So if they make that a point of emphasis next year, these are things you really want to look at before the year. I look every year at what their point of emphasis is going to be and any rule changes, and then try to figure out if that's going to change scoring in the league for the plus or the minus. This year, there was really nothing outside of maybe some of the kickoff stuff, but that really hasn't affected the scoring at all. So I didn't see anything coming into the year this year, but always before the season, make a note to yourself to look at that. We'll talk about it in RPS, of course, but make a note. Any score, any type of rule changes or points of emphasis will, at least in the early part of the year, skew totals quite a bit. So that's something you're going to want to look at next year, because I think you're right. The league wants more scoring. These primetime games are just – I get a message constantly. Like my dad last night always texts me, like, who do you like in the game? And, if I like someone, whatever, I'll tell. And then he says, boy, two bad teams. I said, yeah, well, you could basically say that almost every one of these primetime games. I mean, it's just bad team, bad team, bad team. But the league is just full of bad teams. We just don't have the marquee quarterbacks. I mean, we go back to that, but you just don't have it. You don't have Tom Brady. You don't have Peyton Manning. You don't have Drew Brees. We don't have Aaron Rodgers. Like, look at all the guys over the last few years that we had that are no longer in the league, and no one's really replacing them. No one's stepping up. Even Mahomes is, while they're winning, is not having a monster offensive year. It's really Hurts who's been just crushing it. And even Josh Allen, he's had his moments. He's been good and bad, but no one's just been week in, week out outside of Hurts, really the consistent quarterback this year.
I mean, look what we got here. Mahomes, 17-8 touchdown interception ratio. Not good. Not Mahomes-like. Josh Allen, 18-9 touchdown to interception ratio. You can look at the Miami offense and kind of look at it as an outlier. But even Jalen Hurts, we get a lot of his production from running, 15 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. We're halfway through the season now. Outside, maybe Tua gets to 40 touchdown passes. I don't know if they could keep this up the whole regular season. So Now we're left with guys like Joshua Dobbs. We're left with, let me just look at the schedule here. This week we got Brock Purdy, who they've gone, the Niners have gone backwards. Geno Smith and Sam Howell is a matchup we have. Danny DeVito against Dallas. It's bad, man. Taylor Heineke, at least Kyler's coming back this week. Baker Mayfield, Will Levis, Jordan Love, Kenny Pickett. Listen to these names I'm giving you here. Carr, Josh Dobbs. It's bad, man. It's been ugly. And even Lamar Jackson's come back down to earth this year. He isn't putting up the numbers.
But Lamar, yeah, I kind of like how that team is playing right now. So we'll see, but you still, Lamar's a guy I forgot, but I do like how Lamar has progressed as a pass.
I love
as a passer in the league. He's, far better than he was just a few years ago. So he's one of the elite guys as well. But, without getting too in depth on it, you got to look at the lower levels. And I think what happens is perhaps maybe we're just seeing, I don't follow, certainly high school, but at the college level, you've got more and more of these running type of quarterbacks. And I guess my assumption is, again, the defenses are sort of adjusting to that style of play. And we don't have the traditional really pocket, the Trevor Lawrence, who's pretty much a pocket passer, obviously can run that traditional pocket, the Tom Brady, the statue in the pocket guy who just can pick you apart, the Peyton Mannings and Tom Brady's, like, they don't exist anymore in the NFL. And you just wonder, are we going too far in the out? Like, do we need a guy who's just capable of mentally and physically being able to pick a defense apart without having to run? I don't know. I'm like kind of just throwing it out there.
So we're going back to the statue quarterback sooner and later.
I don't know. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon because we like the mobility score. I think what's going to have to happen is you're going to have to get these more athletic quarterbacks are going to have eventually they're going to have the same skills as a Manning did or a Breeze or a Rodgers or and Brady, of course. But when you went back to that old West Coast offense, Bill Walsh, Joe Montana, who really made it famous and was really the first quarterback or the best quarterback of at that time running that offense. And Bill Walsh, you would never think of Joe Montana as a running quarterback, but Bill Walsh said that what he looked for in a quarterback to run that West Coast offense was good footwork and mobility, which Montana did have early on in his career. And then he had some injuries. So it's not so much that you have to run, even Mahomes, right? We know Mahomes has a ton of athletic ability, but he's obviously a good quarterback in the pocket. It's his ability where Mahomes is the most dangerous is when he is being a little creative. So he's not running for 100 yards a game, but it's his mobility and his ability to run within the pocket and create that makes Mahomes so special. He creates so many plays by keeping things alive. Look at Ben Roethlisberger, was not a runner, right? But his ability to move in the pocket and the fact that you just couldn't tackle him and he could shift his way around a little bit and create it just adds another second or two to the play and gets his guys open. It's different. I don't know. I don't see that with any of these young guys now. Perhaps it's like they're just taking off too quickly or they're just not. On the whole, obviously, though, this is a poor crop of quarterbacks in the league, and we'll see if that changes. But as of right now, I don't see any hope for offenses. We'll see if the rules change again next year to try to help them out. But right now, it's pretty pitiful.
Then I'm looking at Russell Wilson, 16 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. This is just raw numbers, okay? So I'm not even digging deep into it. But he's a guy that's actually kind of had a resurgence. 66% completion percentage, nothing to really look at. Dak Prescott, 70%. He's 13-5 ratio. Herbert's 13-4 ratio. But again, we're not seeing guys at the midway point sitting on 25 touchdowns like we have in the past. So, and Jimmy B brings up Burrow. Yeah, Burrow's been great. He's just missed a lot of the season.
Yeah, the early part. Yeah, he's correct with Burrow. Just that early part of the season pretty much killed him with the injury. But Burrow would be that classic, and he's a winner. I love quarterbacks. I love drafting a quarterback who I like the traditional quarterback who's won in the college level, at the college level. That's why I like Lawrence coming out and I like Burrow coming out. Like guys who win. I don't want to see a guy who went to a big time school but couldn't win at the quarterback spot. Like that's not the guy I want in my on my team. But so I do like that. I do like Burrow. I like Lawrence as well. So, but yeah, on the whole, not good in the NFL. But again, it's going to swing. So maybe next year's the year that the upswing happens. But as of this year, I think it's 21.7.
Yeah, 21.7.
Is that what it is on team
per team? Yeah.
Yeah. When I was looking at my numbers. Yeah. So that's low. That is low. We were up over 23, and I think we were like 23 and a half 2 or 3 years ago. So that's a big difference.
Yeah, you think that's 4 points a game. So it's only 4. It's 4 points a game is a lot.
That's
especially
massive.
When you're betting. All right, let's get into these games. We got 10 of them. What up, John and Mardon, Yeezy, and Jimmy as well, and anybody in the chat. Make sure you hit the like button for us. We'd appreciate it. And for those of you that haven't seen, I got my Run Pure Sports winter hat, beanie, whatever you want to call it. Check out the store if you're looking for a cool winter hat. Imagine how beautiful your lady would look in it with just the hat and nothing else on. Look at that stats. Don't you want to get a lady and just put that on her and have fun?
Yeah, that nothing would turn me on more than the Run Pure wool.
Well, I made it weird again, so let's just get into the games here, buddy. We've got Baltimore hosting Cleveland. I'm with you on Baltimore. I got a preseason future on Lamar to be the MVP. I think this Baltimore team, I got them to get to the Super Bowl too. I'm a big fan. Here's the deal, though. I'm still not sure they put it together. We've seen a lot of these games where they've kind of just fell off the face of the earth in the second half. So I don't trust them yet. This game is in Baltimore. The Ravens, it opened at Ravens minus 4.5. Now they're 6.5 point favorites. The total went from 40 when it opened a few days ago down to 38 now. So a lot of money coming in on the under, 38, 39.5. What's the big difference between 38, 39.5? I don't think there's too much of a difference there, but I kind of see Cleveland have a hard time putting points up in this one. Stats. This Baltimore defense has just been really good. Great scoring defense. On the other side, the Cleveland defense, which started out very stingy, has given up a couple big performances, including that one against Indianapolis. But I can see this being a nasty game. What do you think about the side and the total? Ravens minus 6.5, 38 total.
Yeah, my numbers, I had it right at 6. So that's kind of where it should be. So I loved this one when it was down to 4.5 at the open, and Sharps came in, hammered it. Mm-hmm. And that's why this has gone up to 6.5. I still think you could take it at 6.5. Just obviously with a little less confidence than I had earlier in the week. But I think as it sits under 7, I like where this Baltimore team is going, the direction they're going. This Cleveland, great. Listen, they looked great last week, but I mean, how much weight could we put into that matchup last week? Yeah, they played against no quarterback against a bad team. I agree. I think points are going to be at a premium in this one. You've got Cleveland's defense is no joke. This is one of the better defenses in the league, but Baltimore's defense maybe just as good. So I think
better.
Yeah, it could be better. I mean, what do I have them on my? I think I actually have them a notch ahead here on my rankings. They're the number 1 defense on my rankings right now. They've been that good. So I think it comes down to which offense do you trust to put enough points on the board, and I think that's the Baltimore offense. I think they'll be able to run the ball a little bit more. I like Lamar, as we talked about. I like your bet. I think you have a shot with that bet for Lamar to win. I mean, he's been a little quiet, but no one's really jumped out as the clear-cut favorite here. So we'll see down the stretch if they can get the best record. That would go a long way in winning that bet for you. But yeah, if I had a lean here, it's going to be, I still like it to the under, and I like Baltimore on this one.
I think it's wide open. The MVP race is wide open. Mahomes is always going to be there. Hurts is going to be there. Tua is still in there, and I think it's Lamar. And those are the 5 guys to me. You could think of somebody else, and maybe someone else makes a surge, but that off the top of my head, those are the guys, Stats.
Yeah, well, you know what? The way it's going, though, now with Mahomes Mahomes has to beat his prior self, right? So he's not going to get an MVP on an off year for him. And then Miami's going to have to win. If they win, if they get to that level, like then Tua's got a shot there, maybe an outside shot with Tyreek as well, but they're going to have to win, and they may split some of the votes. I just like if Baltimore can keep churning out wins and Lamar's doing what he's doing, I would put him as the favorite right now to win it.
I think more than anything, he's just getting more comfortable in the system. It's a new system, half a season under a new system. That's not an easy thing to do. And Lamar is accurate. I'm telling you right now, you might see a clip posted a couple times on social media where he misses a throw. The guy's throwing off the run. He's throwing across his body. He looks terrific. He absolutely
far
looks
improved.
terrific.
Far improved from where he was. I have the utmost.
When he won the MVP, he's much better.
Yeah, no, he's better quarterback. He's better
Yeah.
quarterback now. I don't think there's any doubt about it. This is a dangerous team. This Baltimore team is kind of quiet. I don't think people are talking about them nearly enough. And we really didn't talk about, we were talking about San Francisco for a while, and certainly Philly deserves a lot of credit for where they're at right now. But this Baltimore team might be the best team in the league.
Well, and again, I just have not seen them put a full game effort together very often against a good team. Again, this could be another game where they come out, they look great in the first half, and they kind of fade in the second half. This is something that they've done constantly this season. So am I completely bought into them yet? No. Do I see the upside being as high as any other team in the league? Absolutely. Now, for those of you that are not subscribers to Run Pure Sports, runpuresports.com, we got a DFS side, we got a bet side. Sign up, RPS 15% off first payment. What you get there, not just the Proptimizer that you talked about earlier, which helps you with the props, but the models that you have and the power ratings. And I think it'll be good if you throw in some power rating stuff when we're talking about these games, right? That's obviously what these ratings are built for, to help you figure out the line for every single game and how to bet them. So let's do that and get into Houston at Cincinnati. Speaking of quarterback, CJ Stroud, 14-1 TD to interception ratio. We've got Joe Burrow, who is cooking now. The calf looks 100%. Bengals 6-point favorites, 47 total, so a higher total this week. But we won't have T. Higgins. Jamar Chase's back's bothering him. Probably going to play. We'll see if that limits him. On the other side, no Nico Collins, so Tank Dell should get a bump in his role. We saw Noah Brown, what he did last week. Let's start with this. Where are these two teams in your power ratings? Where has Houston ended up now? Are they a top third team in the league?
Yeah, they're close to it. They're 12th, right? So with that,
they're right
not
there.
Quite,
not quite.
So, but they're 12th. The problem you're going to have with Cincinnati in the ratings is the fact that early in the season they were so bad. So those ratings are strictly based off of the statistics for this season. And you're going to have to, I've been saying it for the last couple of weeks, you're basically going to have to bump Cincinnati up when you're looking at them. Now, the thing is, Cincinnati's down at 19. And when I figure out the matchup here, just purely based on the rankings, this one becomes basically a pick'em game. Actually, Houston's like a slight 1-point favorite, if you could believe it or not, just based on how the teams have performed so far this year. Now, you got to bump, like I said, you bump Cincinnati up. Even if you bump them up 2-3 points here, you still don't get to that 6.5 number. So I think this is too many points in this game. I like Houston here. I thought the public was going to be on Houston. I thought it was going to be one of those games where I'd have, sometimes you got to like the same side the public does. But from everything I'm seeing and some of the info that I get from the books and the handles that we get, the Cincinnati's catching the tickets and the money on this game. So I guess there's a lot of people out there just thinking how much better Cincinnati has looked since Burrow's been healthy, and they're kind of dismissing Houston's play. I guess the Houston defense as well has not been great. Last week's game was great. It was great for DFS, that's for sure. But the defense didn't perform all that well. But the offense has just been clicking. Now, like you said, they're banged up. Now Cincinnati's going to be a little banged up here too. Higgins is going to be out this week, so we've got wide receiver out for both sides. I don't know how much. Honestly, I think it affects maybe Cincinnati just a little bit more than Houston. I wouldn't go crazy here, reading too much into that one when handicapping it with either of those injuries. But I just think it's too many points. I like Houston, and the total has been bumped up as well. And I know Sharps came in at about 45.5. I still like this one over the 47. I just think both teams are going to put a lot of points up on this game.
Well, this line has just been bananas. So what are we, the 10th? So when it came out on Sunday, it was 45.5. Then it went up to 46.5. Then it went to 47.5. 48 2 days ago. I don't know if it's the Jamar Chase news or just a lot of money came in and they pushed it back down to 47, but it has really vacillated. I'm just guessing here. Is there sharp money that came in and moved the line multiple times? Is it the Jamar Chase news, which really should not move the line a point? I don't know, but it's one of the more fascinating line moves this week. It's all over the place, Stats.
It has been, but I could tell you for sure that at 45.5, the sharps came in on the over.
Yeah.
At that point, I haven't seen anything else as far as sharps betting the under when it came up. So I think it's just maybe they got some public money there and moved it back down. But for sure, sharps hit this at 45.5.
Yeah, well, here's a game that really didn't move too much. Our next one, San Francisco at Jacksonville. And what do we have in the chat here? Bruce Kelly, CMC for MVP. If we got time, we could talk about the MVP race, no question. You tell me where your power ratings are here. The Niners, who've lost 3 in a row, laying 3 on the road in Jacksonville with a 45 total. This Jacksonville team is really, really good, especially after the first couple of games of the season. With that being said, do you see San Francisco with this team losing 4 straight games? And even if they win, though, do they cover the 3? This is the trickiest line this week in my book. I just don't know which way to go. I think the Niners win, but I'm not sure they cover the 3. It's going to be a close game. So talk to me here, Stats. Help me out. Niners -3, 45 total.
Yeah, I think for most people, this is going to be a tricky game. I think a lot of people are going to stay away as far as betting it. In the model or in the power rankings, I've got San Francisco's my 3rd team right now. Jacksonville's 9th. And when you match them up and you account for the home field, the model likes it as a pick 'em, which would lend you to be on the Jacksonville side. I actually like San Francisco, though, going against the model here. I like San Francisco laying the 3. San Fran, the 3 losses, as you said. Now, we'll talk. This comes up in sports all the time. It's like, what are the chances that they lose 4 games in a row? Well, what were the chances that they lost 3 games in a row? I think we said that too when they lost 2, right? So their chances are a whole lot better after you lose 3 in a row to lose 4 than to say they're going to lose 4 in a row from here. So I always take that with a grain of salt. It's like what are the chances after 9 red come out in a row on the roulette table? What are the chances that a 10th red? Well, it's
this
still
team's just too
47%.
good, Stats.
They're too good. I like San
Francisco. It's too good of a team.
I like San Francisco in this game. I think they win. So coming off the bye, I think is crucial for them here. I think they're going to be able to. I love Shanahan here in this spot. Coming off a bye, road favorites coming off the bye tend to do pretty well in the NFL. So I like this spot for Shanahan, especially. I think he rights the ship. The bye comes at the right time. They get Debo back as well this week. I'm almost positive he's going to play. So this becomes a little bit better team with Debo in the lineup. Now they've got their three weapons as far as on the pass catching side, plus CMC. I think it's going to be hard to. Now I like what Jacksonville's doing. I still think Jacksonville is destined for a pretty decent run here, but I think San Francisco rights the ship, and I would lay the points. I'll lay the 3 here.
If you wanted to get cute, Christian McCaffrey scores every game. But what are we up to now? 16, 17 straight games. If you wanted to play it safe and go CMC touchdown, Niners money line, you're getting plus 116 at DraftKings. So I'll just throw that out there at you. It's another way to get invested if you don't want to lay the 3. It just seems like every freaking game, CMC's going to score a touchdown. But maybe that's why Bruce said, is he the MVP? I don't think he's the MVP. He's at 14-1. They're going to give it to a quarterback, but this guy's just been unstoppable. And I can't bet a touchdown prop at minus 175. I can't do it. And you say they're negative EV, and I get it, but he's the one guy I can't do it with. I want to. Minus 175 to score a touchdown. You know how hard it is to score a touchdown?
Minus 175 is implying that he's gonna score over a touchdown a game, basically.
Correct. Because he has.
Yeah, I know it's not. Listen, there are going to be those guys where, yeah, sure. If you would have taken his line earlier, if you would have been betting him for a touchdown a game, obviously you'd be doing really well. But you got to be able to pick that before the season. So the line's sort of adjusting now. They're getting it to the point where it has been a bad play, and it's just becoming a worse play.
Plus 280 to score twice. What a joke. That should never be lower than even 4-1.
And now, like I said, with Debo back, that gives him one more weapon. So I think it lowers his chances of scoring a touchdown. I hope not. I'm in a big experts league for season long, and I do have McCaffrey. So I'll take a couple of touchdowns. I'll be fine with that this week.
All right, next game, 4th out of 10. New Orleans at Minnesota. Saints 3-point favorites, another low total, 41. So Joshua Dobbs flies to Minneapolis, meets with his team, supposed to be the backup. Hall gets hurt, comes in, has one of the most amazing performances you're going to see. Dude loves to use his. Have they posted the Dobbs prop? Last time I checked was last night, and I didn't see one. I do wonder what his rushing prop is, because this is something I've hit a couple of times actually to the over, and it's worked out. This guy just uses his legs, and I can't imagine that the Vikings would be like, oh, you know, try and stay in the pocket this week. Don't run the football. 28.5. All right, right when this show's done, I might dig into this while you're talking about this game, dude. 28.5 rushing yards. So before we get into the side and the total, Saints -3, 41 total. Saints -3 on the road. Where's Minnesota in your power rankings right now? Like, how do you even cap them, given that Dobbs is in there now?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically, so you've got to look at it when you look at my rankings again. It's based on what's happened so far this year. So you're going to have to figure out how many points you're taking off for Cousins. I don't know if it's that many. So right now I've got them rated. It's a 28 ranking, or 28 points is their power rating, right? And that's 11th best. I think you're knocking them down. You're probably taking 3 points to 4 points off on Minnesota right now, which would knock them all the way down to like the 22nd team in the league. And I think that's fair where you're looking at, home dog now to New Orleans. And if I did that this week, I've got them at 20. So I would have the game closer to a pick 'em here. Now that I would have it close. Yes, this is where I would have it, considering the injury. Maybe Minnesota slight underdog. Now, when I look at where the sharps came in, they came in on New Orleans at the 2.5, and they came in recently on that one. So that's interesting, but it hasn't moved the line. So I'm curious on that one. I mean, there are some 3s out there, but you're still getting 2.5s for the most part. I guess most of them are 3. I'm seeing 2.5 over at Caesars. So it's kind of like, 3. If you want +3, you're going to have to pay heavy juice for it. So it hasn't moved tremendously. I kind of like Minnesota in the game myself personally. I don't love the game. Yeah, I don't love the game from a betting standpoint, and I hate going against the sharp money. But I think the injury to Cousins, and I think they're weighting it too much. I think they're giving it maybe closer to 5 points here. So I think we're getting a little bit of value on Dobbs. This Dobbs kid, I mean, do you think the Jets would like to have him? Like, how did the Jets not pull that off?
I don't know. I can't. Whatever. It's the Jets, dude.
It's insane, right? So this kid comes now. I bet Minnesota. I think I probably said it. Yeah, I'm sure I mentioned it on the show last week. Minnesota was one of my favorite bets last week. I was happy that he was coming in, because it did not look good with the kid Allen in there. And I love when you get a backup quarterback. I hate betting against a team depending on who the quarterback is. But a lot of people were messaging me. They're like, "Oh no, the quarterback's hurt." And I'm like, "Well, it's not like, it's not Aaron Rodgers going out. It's not Patrick Mahomes going out. Like, it's someone we've never heard of going out with a quarterback who's at least serviceable. He's proven himself to be serviceable in the league, not great. So it worked out really well for a guy who barely knew the offense. That's for sure. I think they're going to be fine. New Orleans, listen, the New Orleans defense is solid, if not one of the better defenses in the league. But my lean here, I don't love this game to bet it. My lean, though, I'm going to have a hard time thinking New Orleans is good enough to be favored over too many teams, even Minnesota, here in this game. So I'll take the points with Minnesota at home.
I think this is a numbers play. You're not betting the team, you're betting the number. I think you bet the number here. Oh, this thing got up to 3 now. Absolutely. Do you think it moves to 3 and a hook?
No. We won't
just sit and wait at 3.
Yeah,
sit and hit it at 3 now.
It's too juiced, so it's going to have to come. So you're getting like -115, -120, depending on the book, at +3. Mm-hmm. So you're going to have to wait for they'll move this one down all the way to, if they got that much money coming in on New Orleans, it would move down to like +3, -105 before you got to the 3.5, which I don't think we're going to see that kind of a flood of cash coming in on it. I mean, we did see, like I said, I did see some sharp money come in on New Orleans. I just don't think there's going to be enough money to move it. Where has it been? Like, What line are the sharps waiting for if they want to bet New
You're
Orleans?
right.
You know, where is it?
Because it was 2.5, and I'm like, I'm going to wait for this thing to get to 3. And then I got to 3, and I'm like, do I hit it? And now I'm listening to you. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's a show bet right there. Vikings +3 at home. Because, listen, Dobbs could have a total stinker, but it's not like New Orleans is a good team. It's just not. You know, they're okay. They're mediocre. Carr's not a great court. What's the difference between Carr and Dobbs? Seriously. Like, how many points is that? Not that much.
It's a couple of points.
2?
It's a couple of points. Yeah, it's probably 2 points. I think people overvalue the quarterback, some of the quarterbacks, and their the difference, the point differential between them and the backup. So, yeah, I would agree with you.
All right, just while you were talking, I was looking up some Dobbs stuff. New Orleans giving up 27 yards per game to the quarterback on the ground. They have been shredded recently, though, just completely killed. Badgett had 70. Lawrence had 59. Young had 34. The Packers love 39. The Bucks, Mayfield 31. So, you know, Mac Jones doesn't run. He didn't get any. CJ Stroud doesn't run. He got 2 yards. And then Gardner Minshew got 3. So my number says it's 27.1 yards. The prop is 27.5. But then you also it's not, the problem is I wouldn't be betting with numbers on this one. I'd be betting it with Minnesota says, all right, Josh Dobbs, the best chance of us winning this game is with you running. Run as much as you can. And that would it'd be a narrative-based bet. So I don't know if I'm going to make it. All right, here's a game that I bet that you can't get in on anymore at the number, but might still be good. So I want to know your thoughts on this one. Green Bay at Pittsburgh. Steelers -3, 38.5 total. Now I got this at 39.5. What's the difference between 38.5 and 39.5? Not much.
No, it's not too big. 38's kind of key, but yeah, you should be okay there.
It's still above. So I got 39.5 on this one. And again, this Green Bay offense is anemic. Pittsburgh would like to run the football if they can. I like Pittsburgh's defense at home. I really don't think there's much Green Bay can do outside of using Aaron Jones to try and pick up yards this week. Love is not a good QB, man. Where are these two teams in your power ratings? Again, this to me just stood out as an underplay, even at 39.5. Two bad offenses. I don't think the Pittsburgh defense is as bad as the numbers say, especially with them playing at home. But I also don't think their offense is good enough to where they could put up a ton of points. So where's Green Bay and Pittsburgh in the power ratings? This is an under for me.
Yeah, Pittsburgh's 24th in the rankings. Green Bay's 20th. The thing with Pittsburgh is they've played the toughest schedule, at least according to my rankings, so far this year. And okay. Green Bay's had one of the softer schedules thus far. They're like the third or fourth easiest schedule so far on the season. But you're right. I mean, the offenses in this game, both offenses are terrible. So when you look at the power rankings, if you look at the offensive rating, that's the number that they should score against an average team. Green Bay, 16. They're actually both identical. 16.13 for both teams are what they're going to score against an average defense so far this season. So it's pretty abysmal on both sides of the ball. I agree with you on the under with this game. I would lean that way. I think, my projections have it for 38, but I would say that we're looking at probably a game where it's going to be tough to score. Now, I don't like Green Bay. If you kind of gun to my head here, I would take Pittsburgh. I hate being on the side of the public, but the public's on the Pittsburgh side also. This is one of those where you're like, what's Pittsburgh's? Pittsburgh's got what, 5 wins now on the season?
Yeah, they're the worst 5-win team ever.
Easily the worst team. And you're like, here they are favored to go 6-3. But I think it's going to happen. I think they win this game. So, yeah, I feel more comfortable on the under. I'm with you on this one. But Pittsburgh is certainly the public side. So if you like to fade the public, you'd be on Green Bay. I just don't have any confidence in Love going on the road into Pittsburgh. One thing about Tomlin is he wins. So you can say anything. You can say whatever you want about the guy, but he puts winning teams on the field, even with subpar talent, and he does not have a great quarterback here. You've got 2 bad quarterbacks, I think, playing against each other. Somehow he finds a way to win. So I'll take the coach in this game, and I'll take the under.
Green Bay is a tough team against quarterbacks too. So I think we see a lot of running. I think we see a lot of Aaron Jones. We see a lot of Najee Harris, some Warren mixed in there, and that's what we're going to get.
Yeah, it's a good call. In DFS, Green Bay's been about 3 points better than the average of their opponents as far as fantasy points given up to the quarterback. So they've been really solid against the quarterback this year. Pittsburgh against wide receivers have been atrocious.
Woo! It's bad, but here's the problem. Christian Watson doesn't seem like he can do what we thought he would do. Romeo Doubs is a possession guy. Like, it's not like anybody in their passing game scares you. It's not a good receiver core. So again, this sets up for another under. Tennessee, Tampa Bay is our next one. Bucks 1.5 point favorites at home, 39 total. So we got to get into the power ratings here. Before you do that, like, at what point in time is there going to be enough tape on Will Levis for the defenses to shut him down? Because I thought it would happen last week and it didn't. This kid's got a cannon. He didn't put himself in position to throw interceptions last week. That first game, he should have had a sure interception, and 2 others. He had 3 interception worthy plays. So I got to say, I've been impressed. And then on the other side, we got Tampa Bay, 39 total, Bucks -1.5. What do the power ratings say? And what say you about this Tennessee team? Are they a resurgent Titans team with a quarterback?
That's another team I like to coach, right? So because historically I look at this team, but I'm like, I don't like when I watch them, I'm like, he doesn't impress me, but at the end of the day, it's wins that matter. And he seems to get more, Tannehill, not a great quarterback. He seems to have won with them. Obviously he had the great running back there, but you got to respect the job he has done with Tennessee. Now, when you look at the power ratings, I've got these teams pretty much equal. So you give Tampa a slight edge, and I've got it as like a 1 point favorite as well. So no real edge for me there. This one's a tough game for me to kind of figure out. I don't know which side I like. I don't really like any side of this game. I can't even give you like a lean. I mean, I suppose I would lean a little bit. I mean, if I had to, I'm going to lean towards Tennessee, and I would take the over. But I don't like this game. I'm staying away. I'm staying far away from this game from betting on both on the side and the game.
Pass. I'm with you, man. There's really nothing to like about this game. I probably won't have it on my TV unless Ian Eagle's calling the game, and I like listening to him call games, but that'd be about it. The only reason why. What up, Steve Boynton? Atlanta, Arizona is our next one. This will be our last 1 o'clock game. Falcons. Actually, it's not a 1 o'clock game. It's a 4 o'clock game. Here's an interesting one I've been looking to talk with you about. So Atlanta's laying 1.5 on the road with Kyler Murray coming back. I know he's Kyler Murray, and he had a high pedigree and everything. He's not as great as everybody thought he would be. He's coming off, being inactive for a long time. But they're saying Clayton Tune, man. And what you're telling me is that I'm supposed to back the Falcons on the road with Taylor Heineke. I'm waiting to bet this because I want to see what you're saying. 43 is the total here. I think the total's fine, maybe a point or two too high. But what do you think about the Falcons with Heineke going on the road against an Arizona team which from time to time has shown a good defense? And B, now they get their guy back, and James Conner might be back this week.
Yeah, I really like Arizona in this game. So this is one. This is actually a game I'm betting.
All right, I'm in.
Yeah, listen. We don't know what to expect, but that's.
Do we want the money line or the points?
You know what? I'll tell you that in a minute. I'll tell you that after I got my spreadsheet up here, and I will tell you which line. It depends on what your money line is, but as you're talking, I will. All
right. Well, here I'm talking. Then I got this thing moved actually on DraftKings since we've been on. It went from 1.5 to Cardinals +2. So money was coming in on the Falcons in this one. You're only getting the money line at +105, and you're getting -10 when you're grabbing 2 points. So you've got your handy little chart. My sense is that it's going to tell you to take the 2 points.
So if you're getting 2 at -110, you need to get at least +109.
Yep. So we're taking the 2 points then.
Yeah. What are you?
Or you tease it.
Well, it's the same thing.
So what do you tease it to, or you tease only a 1.5 and a 2.5?
Well, it's the same thing. Basically, teasers now you're just taking the alt line, right? So, or the money line. So if you could get, I'm seeing +2 or +105 as the best.
That's what I got.
So yeah, you're going to want at least plus 109, which means you're going to stay at the +2
Plus
minus
two.
110. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, you would need 109 to make it worthwhile on that. But I do like Arizona in the game. Obviously, there's a bit of a question mark with the quarterback, but I mean, why are they bringing him back unless he's absolutely 100% ready to go? I mean, there's no real reason to play him. They're not going anywhere. So the only question is how much rust does he have? The public is betting it like it's like you said. I'm just shocked that the public is on this game. I've seen the square side. I haven't seen any sharp money, but we've seen square money come in on Atlanta. So you want to back Heineke on the road against a team that's you've got to think they're going to be pumped up for this game. They get you get your leader back, you get your quarterback back. It's a team they haven't been great, obviously, but they've battled. They've had some good. They put up some decent competition at home. I mean, beat Dallas at home, and I don't know. This is one of my favorite games of the weekend. So I'll take. I'll easily take the point. I'll take plus points at home against a Atlanta team that I think is far over. I guess what people are looking at is like, well, Atlanta's a first place team, but I'm like, it doesn't really matter to me. I mean, that's just a product of that division. This is not that good a team.
I might be teasing this with the Raiders. Get 8 with the Cardinals.
Well, I like that. Yeah, teasing it up, I like. Yeah.
Getting 8 with the Cardinals. I know it doesn't make sense because you really want to go through 7, but 8 with the Cardinals, 7 with the Raiders, because I actually lean toward the Raiders this week too.
Agreed. Yeah, I agree with you on that.
That might be my teaser this week. Cardinals +8, Raiders +7. All right, that's in the bank at least. So we both like the Arizona side. We both love the Arizona teaser. And then as far as the total, for me, it's a stay away. I think it's set perfectly.
That's the one place the Sharps came in. So Sharps hit this over. They got it at 41.5, which is what ticked it up. So, now you cross that 42. Probably a stay away, but if you want any info that I have on it, the sharper side was the over.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question there. So we got 3 games to go. Hey, if you got any questions, throw them in the live chat right now. That's fine. That'd be wonderful. We'd love to talk with you. Detroit and the Chargers. So the Lions are coming off the bye, and then the Chargers are on a short week. They played Monday night. This is interesting. If you take that into account, the systems would say that it's the Lions laying 3 on the road. Big total for this season, 48.5. I believe that's the biggest one in the slate stats. I don't see a bigger total than 48.5, which makes me think that maybe the under is the play here. I'll wait till the game starts. It's a live betting opportunity, though, for me. If one of these teams gets a touchdown on their first drive, either one of them, we're going to get over 50, and I'm definitely going to be betting over 50. So Lions -3, 48.5 total. You got to believe in the Lions, right? You also look at it, Staley's teams play touchdown games or less, and it's not going to be a home game for them in LA. There's going to be more Lions fans, no question about that. So my question is, is taking 3 with the Chargers enough? Or do you lay the 3 on the road with the Lions? I already told you my thoughts on the total. I'd rather see how the first few minutes. If I got to fade the total, that's fine. I'm fine with it. But this is another line that's kind of interesting to me that I really don't have a strong opinion on.
I don't have a strong opinion, but the public seems to. So the public loves Detroit in this game. I would lean that side as well, the Detroit side of the game. I just hate being on the public side, but sometimes they do win. The public doesn't lose every game. So I do like the public side of it. I'm just not a fan of the Chargers team. We've talked about it ad nauseum. I know you don't like the coach. I do think there's going to be points scored in this game, though. Yeah. This is the best, at least from my numbers. It might be the best game all year, at least going into the week, as far as my numbers say.
Okay.
As for DFS purposes, so we'll see. But the stuff that I look at, I mean, when you look at these teams, I mean, look at what you could do to the Chargers. Defensively, let me just bring up the numbers. When you look at
they're good against the run. They cannot stop the pass. They've been good against the run, though.
They've been flat. Okay, when you look at the positional rankings against the run, they're flat. They're essentially giving up exactly what their opponents average on the year. But they're 5 points worse against quarterbacks. They're almost 5 points worse against the wide receiver. Almost 3 points worse against the tight end position. So this is a team that you love to target in DFS. And on the Detroit side, Detroit's actually been really good against the running back, and they've been subpar against quarterback, wide receiver, and tight end. And then offensively, Detroit has just been above. Detroit is just phenomenal at the wide receiver and the running back spot. And the Chargers are one of the better teams. They're second only to Miami at the wide receiver position, and their quarterback is +4 above teams, what teams are giving up. So this looks to me like all signs point towards a huge DFS day, which would lead to an over. So I kind of like the over more. I know you like the under on this one. I like
the under if I get it over 50. I got to
get an early score.
Yeah, if I can get an early score, I'll hit the under.
And and then, but I still like the Detroit side if I had to take a side. I don't like this one to bet the side on this game, but I think it's Detroit with an edge. I'm gonna follow the public on this one, which I hate to do, but I like Detroit here. And if you're gonna take it, I don't know if can you still get it at -1? Yeah, I don't know if anyone has it at -110. So you could get the 3. So you can get 3 at even money, which is not terrible with Caesars right now.
All right. Giants at Dallas. I mean, are you kidding me, Danny DeVito? Let's go. Before I even get into any of these lines, the team total for the Giants, over 9.5, -25. Under 9.5, +105. If you want to bet them to get over 10.5, +120. Under is -142, under 10.5. So this is shades of Kendall Hinton starting for the Broncos a couple of years ago. How many guys are worse than this DeVito kid? It's just been absolutely miserable to watch. I don't know what Dable can do to make this offense hum. He's just got to hope for a breakaway, I guess, from Saquon Barkley. So we got a rivalry game, though. 17-point favorites for the Cowboys. I saw it at 17.5 earlier this morning. It was sitting at 16.5 today. I saw it at 17.5, now back to 17, 39 total. How many points do the Cowboys have in them? That's the question. Can the Cowboys get to 31? I suppose.
This is a college. I mean, this is a college line.
This is bad.
Like 38, 39 with a 17.5 spread is insane. You know, I don't know if they'll let you. I haven't even tried it. I didn't think about it till now. So there was a thing back in the day, and you'd really only see it in college games where you could parlay both sides. You could parlay in a game like this, you need it to be, I want to say it was 30. Don't quote me. It's about 30% of the total. All right. So a game like this is nearly half the total, right? 17. So when the spread is 30% of the total, you could parlay the over with the favorite and parlay the under with the underdog. They were called correlated parlays back in the day, and they banned them in college football. I'm just curious if any of the sports books would allow it to even be a play right now. You just never see it.
So you just not in the same bet, though.
Same bet, because the correlated part, yeah, it wins often enough that it becomes a profitable bet, and they stop. You can't do it in college. Try to do it. There's always a handful of college games that it applies to, but you can't parlay those games anymore. I believe it's 30% of the total. The spread needs to be 30% of the total. I'll be curious to see. I'm going to try it myself and see if they allow it. But if you could do that, it's profitable over time because the dogs win in these games. If the dog covers, it's typically going to go under, and if the favorite covers this game, it's going to go over. But I do like the under.
You can't just make two separate bets at plus money. That doesn't.
No, you want to parlay it. Yeah, you want to parlay on it.
Freaking Zay Jones is that again. Good Lord. So let's talk about this, though. Because I don't know how the Giants get to 10 points unless there's a defensive special teams touchdown or there's a turnover deep in the Dallas zone. I mean, the only thing we can say, and by the way, here's our guy, Rants, Giants money line. I do want to let you know the most amount of tickets bet on any money line this week is the Giants at 10-1. Seriously. What's your argument there that it's a division game? Seriously. What's the argument to back the Giants on the money line? The number. And that it's a division game. I just can't do it. I can't do it. Stats.
Yeah, it's
stay away from me.
People want a lottery ticket type of play.
Stay away.
They're not going to lose this game. Yeah, Dallas doesn't lose this game. It's a question of I mean, 17. I'm not laying 17 and a half in the NFL. So that's it. If you like the Giants, you take them plus the 17 and a half points. Otherwise, you just lay off this game. I see some value in the under, but that's about it. So I still like this one. Anything over 38, I would take to the under, and that's about it for me. But if by chance you have a book that allows you to take one of these correlated parlays and you want to give it a shot, take Giants under and take Dallas over as a parlay. You have to parlay the both of them, and you will be profitable over time on those type of plays.
Let me just screw around with my adjusted same game parlays here and see what just if I'm messing around. Like Cowboys -7, and then we would throw the total at what, under 41. That's not going to be a great price, I don't think, but let's just see where it ends up. Under 41, Cowboys -105 for Cowboys -7 and under 41.
-7 under 41.
Out of principle, I only do these when I can get even money or better. So maybe I go down to 40. You're getting plus 108. Might as well just bet it.
Well, just bet the under.
At that point. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just bet the under at that point. They made it so you can't do anything. You really can't do anything with this game unless you wanted to do like a 9.5 or a 10. We got one more game to get to. I want that cat says Cowboys and under 38.5 is plus 105. I'd just take the under 38.5 at -10 then. It's as simple as that. Really, I want that cat. You think the Cowboys are getting to 40 this week, huh? Do they just run it up on the Giants? I don't know how much they're going to pass if they're just beating the hell out of them.
And just to be clear, this is when I was talking about those correlated parlays, it's with the spread, not the money line. So,
okay. Washington at Seattle. Sam Howell, who's in a good spot this week in DFS, in my estimation, visiting the Seahawks, who are 6-point favorites, 44.5 total. Before we get into this game, where are we in the power ratings with these two teams?
Obviously Washington not very good. I mean, they're 30th right now in the ratings. Maybe that's lower than most people would think. And then we talked about Seattle, or we didn't. We were talking about Pittsburgh. Right? Being having 5 wins. Seattle's the other 5-win team that's not very good. They get a 22. So Seattle's coming off that terrible game last week against Baltimore, and Washington coming off a win against New England. I think this is a good spot here. Both teams, you're catching one team after a good performance, one team after just their worst performance of the season. Seattle's kind of slid here in the last few weeks, actually, right after getting off to a good start, 1-2 in their last 3, I believe. I think you're going to catch some value now on Seattle. I think a lot of people are shying away from laying this many points, but I like Seattle in this matchup. I think it's always a tough place to play and a tough place to win in. So this is one of my bets for this week. I'm taking Seattle. I'm going to lay the points. I think they come out and they handle Washington pretty easily. And I do agree with you. This does on paper look like a pretty decent matchup for DFS purposes. A couple of teams that you like to target. I mean, Washington on the DFS side against the quarterback, 3.5 points worse than average and 10 points under opponent's average. They're giving up to the wide receiver position, just atrocious. And Seattle's just negative defensively against every position as far as fantasy points. So this should be a good matchup in DFS.
Yeah, I actually like the Washington side more, although I think one of these Seahawks receivers is going to go bananas. The problem is you can't tell which one it is. Is this the one of the 2 weeks every year that DK Metcalf goes nuts? You know, Tyler Lockett is pretty consistent, right? He's consistently inconsistent, I should say, but he'll have a spike week. JSN is cheap, so you could get in on that. There's too many options there is the problem in Seattle. But I think Dotson and McLaurin and Howell is probably going to be, at this point, my favorite DFS stack. One or two of those guys. And I think it's worth it that we talk about this because we got a lot of DFS guys here. These sinking totals have changed the way we play DFS. Last week was different. You know, we got on the Up to Lock show. We were talking about the Texans. Like, hey, let's roll with Stroud. Let's roll with Noah Brown as a deep dive. Let's roll with Tank Dell and Nico Collins. So the game stack worked there. we've gotten to a point now to what? It's quarterback, wide receiver, and then maybe a run back. The game has changed. DFS game has taken a turn. Stats. We've talked about it before. I want you to talk about it again.
Yeah, we've talked about that. And the last couple of years, it really has been, the game stacks haven't been great. But so I got into this with JBC last week when we were working on lineups for NFL. And a lot of the pros are still stacking games kind of heavily. So you saw some big names win big money last week because they're stacking the games. Yeah, last week and then and even the week before. So just to let you, it actually was it wasn't obvious to me. And then with JBC and I just going through things last weekend, we were noticing more and more that some of the names that we respect are still they're giving a mix. They're not going totally all in on stacking, but on huge game stacks, but they are mixing in quite a few game stacks. And when it works out, a lot of people have gotten away from it. And you saw last week you could hit for big money. I know Big T had a pretty big game stack on that Houston game, and some other notables won big last week. So this is actually a week where I think heavily game stacking is going to be. I think you've got 3 or 4 games that you could do it in this week, and with a possibility of hitting big.
This week's the outlier then. Very good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yes, Rance is correct. I mean, QB +3 is definitely an outlier. Plus you had the comeback was the running back with White. What made it difficult because you had it was having both tight ends as well. Otten had a great game. So not many people would have both of the tight ends, Schultz and Otten, there. So you had to have because Evans and Godwin were terrible. So it was unique in that sense. But my point is I would not shy away from playing for, whether it's a 2-2 or a 3-1 on some of these games to differentiate yourself. And it's obviously going to depend on the type of game that you're playing and how large a GPP it is. By
the way, Evans got tackled inside the 1 off a big bomb.
I needed it. I was right there, 9th place in the big early, the 1 o'clock only on DK with Evans. And so that was painful. Yeah.
Almost there. Hey, let's finish with one question, then we'll get out of here. I got to take one of these teams in my elimination league, Survivor pool. Which one would you take, Colts, Bengals, or Steelers? Survivor league picks are very interesting because I don't know what teams you have in the can still. The team with the biggest favorite that's at home is the Bengals.
Yeah, the Bengals have some good games coming up also. I do a whole Survivor video. If you look it up, just Survivor for the Sharp app, I do it for. So if you want to look it up on YouTube, I do a video on there and I get into a lot of detail, but it's really going to depend on how many people are left in your pool as well. Like if there's not a lot of people left, you want to go as chalky as possible typically. Because when you're trying to win, it's just like taking the GPP down. If you've got 1,000 people left in your pool, you've got to kind of take some leverage plays. So I do like the leverage play against the Bengals if it's a large pool, but if it's a small pool, I think you kind of stay the course here. You take the Bengals and you move on. That's my short advice. But go watch that video. There's a lot in it, and then you could ask me a comment and I'll answer it for you.
All right, Stats. Let's give a little. There's only 111 left. Good job. Give us a breakdown of some of the things we get on the bet side here between your models, the Proptimizer, all sorts of great stuff going on at Run Pure Bets.
Yeah, so we've been doing JBC mostly. He'll sort of aggregate some of our best plays, myself and Big T and him. We'll take some of the plays that we like the most, and we put that as a premium play. So if you've got the bets package at RPS, you're going to get premium plays, and that we limit that to like 5 plays for the day because a lot of people don't want as much of the volume that we give them. But as far as volume goes, you're in there. I don't know what we're averaging, but it's probably at a minimum on a regular day, probably 40 plays between soccer and, depending on the day on props, I'm giving anywhere from 5 to 10 props on the NBA out every day. Christine's crushing it, giving out a whole bunch of NBA props as well. So we've got quite a few people in there with their picks. So if you just want to tail picks, that's fine. We've got that for you. And my props, the NBA, I think I mentioned it earlier. I would definitely recommend following the NBA props. They've been hugely profitable over the last year and change. So I would check that out. And JBC's been just crushing it with the picks that we were selecting for the premium as well. And then we've got what we just started offering now is something I helped create. Is called the Sharp app. And from the Sharp app, you could get it through RPS. If you're a prop bettor, it's got a we call it the Proptimizer tool in there. It's going to give you the Sharp app's projections on all the props and let you know what the edge is based on the Sharp app projection. And if you play on Prize Picks, I love the Prize Picks version of the Proptimizer because the Prize Pick version takes all the sportsbooks lines and then figures out what the projection is based on the sportsbooks lines. And then we take that number and we try to beat Prize Picks with that number. So I love the tool. I think it's one of the best in the industry. And if you're on Sleeper, a lot of you guys play on Sleeper Fantasy, and Sleeper's got prop tools. I was just working before I got on the show. I was just working on that. So we're adding a Sleeper. We're going to be adding Sleeper to that Proptimizer tool. So you'll get all of that at Run Pure.
Absolutely love it. RPS 15% off your first payment. RPS 15% off your first payment of at least a monthly plan. Stats, always fun doing the show with you. Hopefully JBC's okay. Hopefully he made it out of Chicago all right last night. I bet you did. I bet you we'll see some more bets out of him. Take care, my friend. Thanks to everybody for checking out the show. There's been picking winners. Run Pure Sports. Keep running pure.